Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and this is going to be a quick little video where I'm going to show you what happens when you put way too much voltage through a CPU, even if it doesn't actually overheat. So that's what we're doing today. I know it's violent, it's unfortunate, but it's a Sempron 145 that I got for £3, so I don't feel too bad about doing this. Funnily enough, I've never intentionally killed anything yet. And mostly I actually haven't killed that much stuff in general. Like, I've never killed a CPU with Vcore. I've degraded a few CPUs, but I haven't killed one. So today, I'm getting a new experience, and this CPU is probably not gonna... Well, it's not gonna post at the end of today. That's all it's gonna do. There's not... Like, it's not very violent when CPUs go out, from what I've seen. I've never killed one yet, so... That's what we're doing today. So I'll give you a look at the setup, and, we'll get to the murder. So for the setup, I'm going to be using the, you can just about see, that's the G1 Gaming 990FX board. For those of you who aren't familiar with the channel, the motherboard is desecrated with racing stripes because it's plasti dipped for LN2 usage, and I just felt like putting racing stripes on my motherboard because who cares, you know? Like, yeah, sorry for hitting the mic there. For cooling, Sadon 120V, so 120mm radiator, 2000 RPM fan. We don't actually, it doesn't actually need to go at full speed. The CPU really doesn't put out a lot of heat. The RAM is HyperX Beast 2400 11 13 13 34 rated, running at 1600 because the Sempron has no chance of actually doing 2400 megahertz on the RAM. Power supply is a 550 watt Cooler Master. That's the G series. So really budget PSU because this was the one I had on hand at the time. GPU is a XFX Fury. And that pretty much covers it. There's not much else to the setup. So, I'm going to put you up on the stand here. So you can see the post code right over here. I'm going to tweak the exposure right now, because otherwise you're not going to actually be able to read it. There we go. And let's go into the OS part of things. Boom. And actually, I'll try zoom you in a bit on that. Give me a second. Nope, that's the wrong freaking thing. Transform. And you might be like, Buildzoid, you should edit this out. I don't have an editor. And I'm not going to edit my own videos. I'm too, well, I hate watching myself, so that's that. There we go. That's not the right size yet. And yeah, the Windows install is not genuine. It's not going to affect the testing, so I don't care. 800. There we go. There's your postcode. So right now it's showing AO. And that's what it should be showing. So that's all good. And the CPU just finished running Cinebench. It got an atrocious 0.77 points. It is a Sempron 145. It's a single core, 2.8 gigahertz. Currently, the vid is 1.35 volts, but it's currently set to 1.4. So, let's just keep going up, I guess. I'm going to skip the 1. Well, let's just go straight to 1.5. Apply. Boom, that applied. I hope. This app is terrible. So let's run it again. We might see slightly elevated temperatures. It would be actually nice if that happened because that would indicate that the voltage actually went up. I'm not going to let Cinebench run through all the way because that's going to take a month. So I'm just going to let a couple squares come up. And as you can clearly see, the temperatures are holding really, really low. So nothing concerning there. This is boring to watch. So yeah, it's working, it's working, it's working. While that's running, I'll just give it more voltage again. So 1.5 to 1.6. Because I don't want to be here all day. Apply. And at this point, we're actually seeing a decent temperature increase. Now the CPU is at 35 degrees. Still doing the same workload. you know, yeah, it's still not going to finish it. I'm not actually overclocking the CPU. We just want to kill it with voltage. And as you can clearly see, the temperatures are fine. So let's keep going up. 1.7, so this is like 1 point. I don't like this anymore. At this point, we're well into the territory where a 45 nanometer glow flow manufactured CPU, and is this actually a 45 nanometer? I'm not even, yeah, it is a 45 nanometer, thank God. So at this point, at 1.7 volts, it's starting to get into that territory. The CPU might die. Not necessarily instantly, but you will see degradation on, you know, ambient cooling. So 35, 36 degrees. Let's apply. Temperature goes right, shoots right up again. 38 degrees now. But still, it's not a concerning temperature. 38 degrees, it's like nothing. And yes, Core Temp does actually read temperatures for AMD CPUs properly. It's one of the few utilities I trust trust for AMD CPU. Yeah, Windows, I don't care. That I trust for AMD CPU temperature readouts. Because a lot of the other ones, like the more comprehensive utilities, a lot of them will pick up sensors that aren't actually CPU temperature and report that as CPU temperature. Which I think it was Hardware Monitor on the FM2 platform where I was consistently getting like 128 degrees on some sensor. And that was, you know, less than ideal. So 1.7, 1.7 volts, CPU still fine. Let's go for 1.75. Temperature went up again, so we know the voltage applied. The fan is starting to spin up, but the CPU is still chugging away at the benchmark. So that's good. I'm gonna move this. No, I said move this, not maximize it. Okay, Windows, I get it. You're stupid. Oh well. Just put up with it. This utility is awful. Like, I only need this menu right here, and yet, yeah, gigabyte software. Oh, well. Oh, then I can't reach the apply button. So, next up, 1.8 volts. 1.8 volts is like where you want to run a 45 nanometer AMD CPU on LN2. We're on water cooling right now, so I don't have very high hopes past this point. Still working. Temperatures are still going up, but still nothing concerning. 43 degrees, no big deal. At least we know the voltage is actually going up. Chugging away at that benchmark just fine. I'm kind of getting concerned here. So, 1.85. 45 degrees in this. I'm surprised this is still running. Though do understand one thing about unsafe voltages. They do not instantly kill CPUs. Not necessarily, anyway. You can still see the system is still running fine. Everything is working. And we're at 1.85 volts. But, as I said, not instantaneous death. At this point, we're just going to be causing serious degradation to the CPU as it runs through Cinebench. But it's not going to necessarily die right now. So, 1.9 volts, because I did say I want to run the CPU straight into the ground. Still chugging away at Cinebench. That is impressive. Temperatures are getting slightly into the and that's a bit high, 50 degrees. 1.9 volts. I'm gonna let it sit at this for a bit. If this doesn't die on me, then I'm going to be kind of annoyed. Do note that I did not... There's not currently any load line calibration set on the motherboard. So it might not actually be delivering full 1.9 volts. Yeah, so... That's a thing. But at this point, it really should be dying, so... Up we go. I'm gonna start taking it slower and slower because I don't trust. Like, it's probably just gonna end up blue screening or black screening. $54 degrees. Still alive though. That's impressive. But the single core trooper will keep on marching. We'll see. 1.95 volts now. How's the VRM doing? Mobile VRM's fine. So, still not dead yet. I'm impressed. I thought this would go a lot faster. You know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna pause this test for a bit. Gonna go into the BIOS. No thanks. I'm gonna enable LLC. And we'll try that again, because I don't think it was actually delivering the full 9.5 volts when I set it to 9.5 volts. So we're gonna go into the BIOS. I'm gonna lock the fan speed at max, because the temperatures were going up a little bit. And let's see, advance. Where was it? Nope, that's not the right. Can't remember this BIOS. Ah, there we go. CPU fan speed control disabled. Should apply instantly. PWM. Okay, so those are now all disabled, so they should just max out. Advanced voltage settings, Vcore load line. This motherboard is best to run on medium. Extreme gives you a ton of voltage boost, and low is kind of useless. So we'll change those, save and exit. And we shall see if the 145 can survive another round of torture. This is really not going as well as I intended. I was expecting the CPU to die a while ago, so. Just gonna get CPU ID open. Core temp 33 degrees. Core vid, it's just reading the vid. It's not actually reading the voltage that is set. Easy tune. This is gonna crash, I think, initially. Tends to do that. Utilities are really kind of garbage. So I wonder if we saw any degradation yet. So I'll just run Cinebench and we'll do it at 1.35 volts, because that is the stock voltage for this CPU. So as you can clearly see, that's the vid. Right now we're at 1.4 here. So let's set 1.35, apply. It didn't crash yet. Let's run it. Yeah, so CPU is still alive. So let's go back to the slamming the unfortunate victim with lots and lots of voltage. And I'm going to start at 1.85, not at 1.9, because the LLC wasn't on before, so. Yeah, it's still working. Let's wait for the temperatures to pick up. .45 degrees, so not too bad. So we'll just go straight for 1.9 at this point. Apply. And we're back in the 50s. Do note that I maxed out both the pump speed and the fan speed on the water cooler, so temperatures will be a little bit different. It's still not dying. Tough little CPU. Oh, there we go. It's over. That. And that's how a CPU dies. It's dead. I can't even get the motherboard to turn off properly. So I'll just cut AC power from the back of the PSU. Get the system turned off. I'll fire it up again. Okay, and we'll watch that post code, because it should just stay on 00. We'll see if it can fire up again. At this point, and yeah, nothing happening. CPU dead. So, That's what happens when you put too much voltage through a CPU. And you could see throughout the process the core temperatures weren't really getting that high. But the CPU is nonetheless now a wall ornament. For all intents and purposes, there is no CPU in this motherboard at this point. There's, like, the postcode's not even showing anything. So I'm going to go swap out the CPU and show you that the motherboard still works. So I'll put you on the other camera. Boom. So that you can see the swap out process. Do know I'm using a desk mic, so when I move away, I can't talk. So, this right here, this is a Phenom 2. Not sure which one, but we'll just stick it in there and fire it up again. The VRM actually got toasty doing that. Not so hot that I burned my hand touching it, like, it's still fine. If it was like, if I couldn't put my hand against that heatsink, that would be somewhat concerning. But right now it's just, I'm gonna guess like 40 degree, no, 50s. I'm gonna guess 50s for that. So, it's really not that warm. After all, the Sempron being a single core, even at almost 2 volts, is not going to pull a particularly large amount of power. I'm not going to really bother with redoing the thermal paste. I think I went a little overboard when I was installing that Sempron in there. So I'll just swap out the chip and actually, you know what? To just show you that the board still posts, I'm not even going to, let's see, this is going to pull the CPU out, isn't it? There we go. Pro tip for anybody dealing with AMD CPUs, do not bend your CPU out like that. Okay? If you have your heatsink, don't do this. Don't pull on it at an angle because if you're unfortunate enough, you'll end up bending 1 or 2 rows of pins on your CPU. So always slide to the side until it loses most of its contact, and then you can pull the CPU out. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you might have to bend your pins back, and if you're not particularly dexterous, you might end up completely breaking your pins doing that. So it's better if you don't have to deal with that in the first place. Move that. Wipe off that thermal paste, because I don't want to get my desk messy. Well, actually, that's going straight to the wall now. I'm gonna have a little collection of CPUs up on the wall, so that I killed, so there. And as you can see, there's no visible damage on the CPU because, well, it's the silicon under the IHS that got toasted. You're not gonna see any damage on the on the pins or anything, so yeah, if there was damage on the pins, you'd actually have to worry about your motherboard being the one thing that went up in flames, so to speak. As you obviously just saw, there are very few. It's really quite a boring death, that of a CPU. There we go, nice and snug in the socket. I'm just gonna go get a heatsink that doesn't require a bunch of screws to stay on the CPU. So for now, I'm just gonna stick a Hyper 212 Evo on there. Just gonna stand it on there, but we do need thermal paste. Otherwise, this is gonna be. I already killed one CPU. Don't need to kill another one with thermals, because those also do kill. So this is just some garbage thermal paste that I don't care about. So don't worry about the application too much. Ugh. Can't wait when those tubes run out, because I can't wait to not have to use that. There we go. Not the heatsink. I don't even really need to plug in the fan at this point, but I am going to just show you that now the board will post just fine. And as you can see, postcode is back in action. And I'll just There we go. Motherboard has to drop BIOS settings, obviously, because different CPUs require different settings. Please don't die on me, motherboard. That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Supposed to know what I'm doing here. And we're in. I'll just show you the BIOS. Now everything works again. And you know what? I'll just stick that Sempron back in again as well to show you that it's truly, well and truly dead. The hell? Which one of my CPUs is this? There we go. Working. Yeah, it's working. There we go. I got thermal paste on my mouse. Damn it. Okay. And there's your monitor. And as you can see, everything is fine. All well and good. We can exit without saving. I'll just take it into the OS and start Cinebench to show you that this CPU is fine. Actually, I probably won't do that because the heatsink will run away before I manage to show you. Just gonna hold the heatsink down by hand. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, everything boots. Wrong mouse. There we go. Stay. That heatsink keeps running away because, well, no mounting. And as you can clearly see, the Phenom 2 560. Actually, oops, that's the wrong mouse again. Phenom 2 560 is working just fine, and restart later. So that CPU works. Where did the Sempron go? There we go. So that one works. Hop, pull that off. Decent thermal paste spread, but whatever. Alright, I don't want to touch that. The reason why I don't like this thermal paste is I actually get a really itchy reaction to it. I don't know why. Every other thermal paste I've used, no problem getting it all over my hands, but this one makes me itch, so don't like it. Can't wait to run out. There we go. That one's free. And yeah, you know, trust me, that's a Sempron. It's not gonna focus, but that's the dead one. And at this point, I really don't care about the chip, so I'm not gonna treat it all that great. Heatsink back on. There's enough thermal paste on there on it for it to boot. And as you can clearly see, the postcode is dead again. CPU truly dead. So that's that. However, and I'll move the camera now. Just gonna black it out. Whoop. Magic of transitions. Ugh. Need to get some more. I'm gonna get more thermal paste all over my camera. I mean mouse. I mean everything at this point. So anyway, as you clearly saw, it took a lot more voltage than I thought I would need to kill a 45 nanometer AMD CPU. And yeah, you know, that's sort of the point here, is to show you that killing your CPU is rather hard. Okay? It is not impossible. It is actually very easy. If you go into the BIOS on this motherboard and accidentally type in 2.3 volts, that's your chip dead right there. Boom, gone instantly. No questions asked. But as long as you're not stupid about what you're doing, running accidentally 1.6, 1.7 volts is not going to instantly kill your CPU. It will degrade it over time. It will do damage to it over time. But unless you end up putting way too much voltage through your CPU, it's going to die, you know, instantly. If you put too much voltage through it. The other thing to note is also, if you put, say, like 1.7 volts, it'll degrade, and at one point it will go down completely as well. It's not like it'll run forever, just steadily worse and worse and worse and worse until it goes into oblivion. It will at some point die, but it would just take so long to show that, you know, it doesn't make sense to do it in a video. And this is already pretty long. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of show you what happens, because honestly, that's pretty much exactly what I expected. Not many, there's, you know, I don't know if there's any other videos of this out on the out there, but thought there was a need, so I fulfilled it. I realize this video is not actually cost effective. That Sempron costs more than any of my videos are in. Anyway, that's for me to worry about. Thank you for watching. There's a like button that you can press to pay respects to the, you know, unfortunate Sempron 145 that we sacrificed here today in the name of... I'm not going to call it in the name of science. That wasn't science. That was just sadism. But that's still... in some people's probably a worthy cause. And yeah, so there's a comment section where you can complain about everything I didn't do well enough for your testing standards or whatever you have that you need to complain about. And I do run a Patreon, so, you know, you could, like, go to that Patreon and patronize me so that I can buy more unfortunate Sempron 145s to kill in the future on, say, LN2 instead of on a water cooler. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.